my film is The Case of the Three-Sided Dream.
How did you find out about Rahsaan, Roland, Kirk?
Okay, you want me to talk right to the camera there? Or?
Please, Kirk. Yeah.
How did I find out about Rahsaan, Roland, Kirk? I took a chance, which is thankfully what a lot of people are doing with this film who don't know Rahsaan. I took a chance. I bought a record. I didn't know who he was. I put that record on the turntable, then I proceeded to play that record over and over till the needle wore out. So I took a chance and it paid off. He just touched me emotionally, and that's what he does.
Now, what did you do pre-production for the movie as far as getting did you know some of these people beforehand, or were they all met in the context of putting the film together?
So the way that once I was a fan, and I was a fan for several years until I had the idea. A friend of mine gave me the idea to. Let me backtrack. You're editing this or no?
Not really, but it's okay.
Okay. Anyway, a friend of mine had given me the idea. I was saying, why doesn't someone make a film on Rahsaan? Because more reading the liner notes of his records and all, it's like, oh, he did this and then he did that, and this is amazing, all the stuff he did. So a friend of mine says, you should be the one to make the film. So I called Rahsaan's former record producer. This was 1999. The film started and then was paused for a while and then got finished. But in 1999, when we still had phone books, I basically looked up his former record producer in the phone book. He was super accessible, Joel Dorn. He said, sure, come on over. And Joel opened a ton of doors for me, introduced me to Rahsaan, Kirk, and a bunch of other musicians and people. And John Kruth, the writer, was writing a book on Rahsaan at the time, so I had a lot of doors open for me, and it snowballed.
How hard was it hunting down the video for all those great performances?
That was tough. Hunting down the video was tough because also, you know, it started the film in '99. YouTube was not as pervasive. Was it even there then? I think it was.
I don't think it was up
Maybe
yet.
It wasn't even. Yeah, so, you know, archival research, I think there's a whole industry or a good part of the industry has been killed by the internet, but archival research was a harder thing, and it was hard to track that stuff down. But the plus side is there's so many great archives of Rahsaan, and I was ultimately able to get my hands on a lot of beautiful footage. And I thank the people who made that footage, some of which are still around, like Dick Fontaine.
Now the BBC footage, the black and white stuff of him in the back of the cab and things, how did you react when you found that?
Oh, well, two things. The BBC footage, I mean, I was like a kid in a candy store with all that footage. It's like Rahsaan. It's like you look at one thing and it blows your mind, and then wait, the next thing blows your mind, the next thing. And it's amazing my mind is still functioning. But the footage, the black and white in the back of the cab, again, a lot of the most dynamic footage really comes from a film by Dick Fontaine called Sound, which features Rahsaan and John Cage. It's a 20-minute short film. It's a beautiful film. And again, I was just like a kid in a candy shop going through that stuff.
Now, it struck me, Roland Kirk, in a way, his performing and stuff, it reminded me of Sun Ra, especially in the 70s, with the way he just kept tinkering with sound and performance pieces. Did you find a link between him and Sun Ra or not?
There's certainly a link between Rahsaan and Sun Ra, and even the Ra and the Ra, which John Kruth refers to in his book on Rahsaan. But I found stronger links to other people. To Mingus, he's got a very strong link, and he did. I mean, they played together not only on the Ed Sullivan performance, but elsewhere. And you know, the main thing I realized in making the film is people see Rahsaan, they're like, 3 saxophones, flute out the nose, he's experimental, he's inaccessible, he's crazy. The main thing I learned in the film is he's a blues musician. He's coming from a place which is the blues, and it's so embedded in his music. So I was really enlightened in that way about his music.
Now, your film has a really great editing balance between his life story and his performances. How did you, as you were going through the editing process, how did that work on you?
That was tough. I mean, the editing was tough. I mean, one thing that I mentioned in the Q&A, Rahsaan has a super interesting life. He's an interesting character. Beyond interesting, it's reductive just to say that. But his legacy is music, and this is a music, it's many other things. Again, I don't want to be reductive in saying this is a music documentary. It's not just that, but part of it is that his main legacy is music. So the first thing I was like, we have to show the music. We're not going to cut to a 10-second clip and then go back to talking heads. So I had a mission to keep the music in there for a good chunk of time to give the public, the audience, the music. Then it was definitely a balancing act. I mean, there were so many elements to his life beyond that, and so many things I wanted to convey. I had a burden to convey, frankly, because this guy has a big legacy. About issues about being blind, issues about race in America in the 60s and 70s, his political activism, his humor. He was a satirist. He was, so it was a tough act to keep all that balanced, and I hope I did it. Again, a heavy burden.
Is it playing any future festivals you're lined up for?
Yeah, so the film, a couple of things about future playing. It's going to play at SimFest in Chicago International Music and Movies, and then and that's in May, the first weekend. It has its New York City premiere at the IFC Center June 11th in conjunction with the Blue Note Film Festival, Blue Note Music Festival, which they're also showing at least my film. That might be the only film. Maybe they show others. So June 11th, New York City IFC Center, and then it'll go to other festivals. But the film does have when I talk about the film, I always say Rahsaan was an obstacle killer. He faced a lot of obstacles, and he slew them, frankly. This film has an obstacle to distribution in that I do have all these archives, and I've licensed them for festival play, but I don't have them licensed for, say, distribution to Netflix or distribution to home video or TV. That all costs more money. This film does not have an executive director, so I need money to get through those other obstacles so I can get it out to more people.